Good afternoon, everyone. I am so happy you're here today. We have an exciting guest with us, and some of you might be tuning in for the first time. So, just to give you a little bit of background, my show is called Get to Know Them. I'm your host, Monica Graves, and I broadcast here live every week from my studio in sunny Burlington, Ontario, where I run my business, Glam Jewels, which is a jewelry company that also sponsors this show. So if you see the jewels I'm wearing, um, it is glamjewels.com, glamjulz.com. And we also have a second sponsor who is a Canadian designer based out of Toronto, Ontario. Her name is Brenda Badome, and I am wearing her clothes today as I do for all of the shows. And you can check her out at brendabadome.com. She's also given us a coupon code, Get to Know Them, for 22% off of your order. So make sure you use that and enjoy your little shopping adventure. And thank you for supporting local. So today I'm really excited because we have Toni Harris Taylor here with us, who's coming to us live from Houston, Texas. She is so awesome. I'm going to read you her bio so you'll know a little bit about her, and then we're going to take a deep dive in the interview. Toni Harris Taylor is the award-winning franchise owner of Network and Action Global Partners. NIA Global Partners is an international community of business owners who come together to mastermind to grow their businesses. They bring each other warm referrals, and they are a supportive community for one another. Toni lives by the mantra of being drastic. In her business, Drastic Results Marketing and Sales Coaching, she helps her clients learn the strategies to get known, get connected, and get paid to make six figures and beyond. Toni is an 8 times author, and most recently, her collaboration project Viral Networking for Drastic Results achieved Amazon International best-selling status in the sales and marketing categories. I was first dazzled by Toni's incredible energy and sparkle when she emceed the annual Wallet to Wealth Gala evening in support of Halton Women's Place. Get ready for some big time positive vibes over the airwaves coming to us live from Houston, Texas. Yay, Toni! So
Well, I wish
excited.
it was sunny Houston, Texas today. It is not. It's still kind of chilly here. So thank
Like,
you, Monica. I'm so
oh,
excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Yeah, and I was disappointed to hear you got basically the same weather as us right now. So we can't live in
Right.
your world of sunny, hot days just yet, but
Not
they're
yet,
coming
but it's
sooner for
coming, and
you.
then we will be about to combust, and y'all will be laughing at us. So there you
Exactly. So Toni, I have to ask you the first question I ask all of my guests, and that is, what did little Toni want to be when she grew up?
go. Ooh, you didn't prep me for these questions. So it's definitely not who I am today. I probably wanted to be the typical doctor. You know, when you're in kindergarten, everybody wants to be a doctor. Um, I don't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Honestly, I grew up in a not so great home, so I wanted to be out of my stepdad's house. That's what I wanted to be.
Right.
And so, but my mother was clerical, and my mother did a bunch of transcription at home, and it always amazed me. She could close her eyes and type. So I think I wanted to do something like that where I could mimic my mom because she was the hardest working woman I knew. And I think it was something clerical that I thought I was going to be.
Wow. Did your mom know shorthand as well?
Oh, yeah.
Did she? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Back in the day, I remember shorthand and all
Yeah.
of that.
Oh, that's incredible. I love your answer because the answers are always different. Some people end up doing exactly, some people like you had no clue. So, being an entrepreneur, do you remember how old you were when you were like feeling that entrepreneurial spirit of I want to do my own thing?
Yeah. So my mother brought me into entrepreneurship at
Okay.
24 years old. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was called, but she had started her own business as a computer trainer. and she invited me to join her company. And at the time I was working at an oil and gas company as a legal secretary. And I said, no. Because I had seen her struggle to get her business off the ground. She had started it just as the oil crash in the early 80s or late 80s. And I thought I was going to be a 30-year secretary at this oil and gas company. And when she approached me, I was like, I don't think I can. First of all, she was asking me to be a trainer and a computer trainer, training from DOS to Windows. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
that, Monica.
I
From
remember.
Word Perfect to Word, from Lotus 123 to Excel. And I didn't have any of that experience. But she asked me a question that still today resonates with me. And that is, what's the worst that could happen, Toni? You could always go back to that job, she said. But what if I'm right? So at 24 years old, I left my career in oil and gas and followed my mom's dream and did that for 9 years. And along the way, Mary Kay, other MLM type companies showed up. I would, from that point forward, I used to kiss. She and I started a custom tailored dress shirt business on the side for men. So entrepreneurship has been in my life since 24. So that's about 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's only yesterday. God, and what an experience to work alongside your mom.
Yeah. And today she's still working by choice. She's 40 plus years as an entrepreneur. She now works for a small business here in Houston, but I can't get her to sit down. I'm like, Mom, let's move to Florida. She's like, my job's not in Florida. Lady,
Whoa.
you're supposed to sit down somewhere. So
Good.
I
How
hope
old's your mom?
she's 76. I hope she's watching
Oh,
now.
good for her. Hi, Mom. That's awesome. What an inspiration. And so working with your mom through those years, were there ups and downs, were there conflicts, or were you sort of was it harmonious? How was that?
Yeah, she and I have the best relationship. And honestly, we were, even though I worked for her, we were pretty independent. So she would go get the training contracts and then just assign me to go in. So we didn't really cross paths like that.
Mhm.
And she paid on time. So we didn't have any problems.
Awesome. Yep, that's the number one. So so you did that for 9 years, Tony, and then you decided
Yeah,
to
let's
go
talk
out
about
on your
that
own?
part. So
Yeah,
for nine
whoa.
years, I worked with my mom, and then I got my own computer training contracts. And one of them was with a financial services company. And this was in 1998. And they hired me to teach the financial advisors around the country how to use a laptop, this beast that nobody had ever seen before. So I literally traveled around the country teaching advisors how to unpack the laptop from the computer bag, how to plug in the doggone battery, how to use a little mouse pad. I can't even believe today. It's hilarious to think they paid me to train them on computer, how to unpack a laptop, but they did. And as I was going across the country, the advisors would say to me, oh my gosh, with your personality, you should do what we do. What do y'all do? We invest people's money. I don't do investments. Look, I'm Black. Black people don't invest. That was in the 90s. So I was like, we don't invest. I don't know nothing about money or sales or annuities or insurance. They said, but you'll make six figures within 2 years. I was like, oh, tell me more.
Now they, yeah, now they got your attention.
Right. Because at that time I had a high school diploma and I didn't think six figures was possible for me. So in my business, I was making about 60,000. And at that time is in the 90s. So that was pretty good for a girl with no degree. And so one advisor in Florida said, seriously, Toni, come and work with me. Network again, right? Network. So I
Right.
interviewed, I went to Florida, I visited, I interviewed with the manager. Everything looked perfect. I came back to Texas, told my husband, let's go. We sold our house, packed up the kids, drove to Florida. I get there, Monica, and 10 days in, the territory I was promised did not exist for me. I got a call from another advisor that said, stay out of my territory.
Oh,
Keep in mind, I have no experience. I packed up my friends, my family, left my friends, left my mama in Texas for this adventure. That was a time where I learned the true value of relationships. Because instead of bringing the sister, the one that ends in A, not ER, the sister out on them, I decided to buckle in and start building relationships with the manager who messed up. He felt really bad. So I got all the extra business that came our way. I started networking and sitting with the top advisors in the company, and they were weak in technology. I was strong, so I started giving them help with technology. They were giving me investment advice, how to do the business. I forgot to mention this was June of 2000, Monica, when the stock market went down for 3 years in a row.
yeah.
It was truly relationships that helped me to get out of that situation. In that first year, I drove 36,000 miles trying to make it happen. Talk about drastic. And at that time, I didn't
Yeah.
know anything about drastic and being my brand or any of that. But when I look
Mhm.
back on my life, it was one drastic step after another. And that was probably one of the most drastic times ever. And I ended up being very successful, one of the top advisors, and I got tapped on the shoulder to become a assistant manager, and that's where my networking um, really took a growth.
Right. Wow. And that all happened in Florida.
So it
That
happened between
yeah,
Texas and Florida,
in
yes, but that
Florida.
all
Okay.
happened in Florida, yes.
Wow. So how long did you stay there in that position?
Yes, so I was a financial advisor until 2005. So from 2000 to 2005, then I went into management. Wasn't for me, so I went back into the field, and then I
Mhm.
moved back to Houston in 2008.
Okay. Wow. And at that point when you came back to Houston, was that when you decided you were going to go take a chance on yourself?
No,
How did
I moved
No,
back to Houston with the same company, went back into training. So watch this. Relationships are
yeah.
everything. I
Right.
tell my clients and my audiences when I'm speaking, you don't have to be the best qualified. You don't have to be the best looking. You just got to have the right connections. So
Mhm.
I went into management, didn't like management. So I went back into the field. And when I decided I wanted to come back to Houston, because this is where my mama was, and life had changed for me, life changes, divorce, and all of that. I said, I'm going to come back to Houston. I got on the phone and I called the manager of the training department and the director of the training department. I already had a reputation as being a successful advisor. And I'm like, you got any openings? They said, absolutely. They said, what's your name, your salary? I said, I need 100K. I had no degree. I'm still high school educated. But because they'd seen my performance, they knew me. They were like, Toni is just what we need for training because she's not only I started in training in the computer area, then I went into the field, lived the real world of being an advisor. Now I'm back in training, and it was amazing. And during that time, by the way, I forgot to say this was all commission based. So even though I worked for a company, it was still entrepreneurial because you only ate what you killed. So um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
but
you had
it was,
kids and
yeah, I had my kids and they were teenagers at that time. We moved back to Houston, but the relationship was there. So all I had to do was make a phone call and say, "You got a spot for me?"
mhm.
And in
Amazing,
corporate, they got to post a job and all that. They
right?
did all that, and still, me with a high school diploma got $100,000 job that I know if my reputation hadn't preceded me and I didn't have the relationship, it would not have happened.
Yeah, that's amazing when you look back to when you first got there and it was like the biggest disaster, and it's all about how you handled it,
Yeah,
which predicted your future,
yeah.
because had you handled it a different way, you might not be telling this story today.
Absolutely. I'm serious. I
Yeah.
thought about bringing the sister out on them when it all went sideways. I was like, should I call
Of
HR? What
course.
can I do? And the damage was done. So I had to make the best of the situation. And in hindsight, that manager that brought me there, and I talked to him 2 weeks ago. We're still friends
Mm,
today. And that was in
wow.
2000. So you everything's not going to turn out right. How do you
Yeah.
handle it? And what do you do with the relationships you do have in order to help turn things around for you?
Yeah. So, Tony, I'm curious to know, like in your business today, there especially since the pandemic, there's a lot of relationships being made online. There's a lot of hiding behind social media instead of having to meet face to face. One of the things you talk about that I love, everybody must subscribe to Tony's YouTube channel because it's so inspiring. I'm gonna just like hit auto play for every morning. You're gonna be like my alarm clock. Get out of bed, get going.
I
But I
love
love
it.
how you talk about like putting yourself outside of your comfort zone and getting up and like public speaking and arranging for meetings with people and being intentional. Like all of these things are so important, but I think for those of us who are like Gen X kids, we kind of grew up with that, having to do those things at work. But the next generation, it's a totally different world. And so I just wondered your sort of how you feel about that and what your experiences have been with younger people
Oh,
in this
great, great, great
world.
question. Great question. Whew. you know, I really want to support the younger generation. If I knew then what I know now, you probably wouldn't be talking to me today. But they're hard headed. I'm just being truthful. I have that generation as children, and it's been a challenge. I don't want to say all of them because they're not. What I find with the younger generation is they're one extreme to the other.
Mm,
They've got it all together or they don't. So, you know, it's interesting because they show up, they are expressing themselves in their grooming and their dress, forgetting that the people who sign the checks look like us, or our generation, or their parents' generation. And I don't care if you have freedom of speech, the way you look, the way you wear your hair. I'm sure you do, but if I got to sign a check, you're going to show up so that I feel comfortable putting you in front of my people. I
mhm.
feel comfortable introducing you to people. And sometimes I think, you know, sometimes I think that they just kind of forget. So I just want to give the younger generation a tip. Listen to the older generation. Been there, done that. They see life through a different lens that you haven't even crossed the bridge yet. You standing on this side of the bridge, we on that side of the bridge. You need to hear what we have to say. And if we tell you something, It's not for maliciousness, it's to hear our heart. We want you to win.
Mm,
We want you to win. But sometimes I just find it's difficult. Um, and then sometimes I meet some of them and they are so sharp and I'm so impressed and they are going after it. So I don't want to be
yeah.
general. I want to, those that I can help, I help. And those that I can't, I move them along.
Yeah, yeah. But it's really such an amazing world when you think about how Tony, like back in our day, we'd be on the phone doing cold calls, going knocking on doors, doing cold calls. Like those things were, that's how you got the business. And now, like for anybody, that is your competitive advantage because I'm telling you, nobody's knocking on a door and nobody's picking up the phone.
Yeah. And,
So,
I am not a big proponent of either of those things because I believe
okay.
in relationships. So let's talk about that.
Yes, let's talk about
So
it.
I'm Jehovah's Witness, and I don't want to knock on doors for my business.
Okay.
I'll knock for him, but I am not going to knock for me. And
Yeah.
so, and plus, there's some, it's so what I teach my clients is learning how to network so someone else can hold the door open for you
Ah, love it.
versus you knocking on a door cold or you
Yeah.
making a cold call. If I establish a relationship with you and you like me and you hear of an opportunity for me, open the door for me.
Mm,
I'm going to do the same for you. And that's what I teach my clients, how to show up in a way that people want to help you.
perfect. Yeah, that's great. So, how are some ways that people can start that? Because I feel like now, again, in this like social media world, we're very self-focused. Like, look what I did. Here's what I'm doing now. Here, and to just do something simple like share someone else's post and say, "Hey, check out what my friend is doing," for anybody who's interested. That can go such a long way,
It
right? So,
absolutely can. But sometimes
yeah.
we are so focused as entrepreneurs, we're just so focused on getting our grind on that sometimes we miss that part. And that's what I teach my
Mhm.
clients is how to keep your eyes and ears open for someone else. And guess what? If you do it for someone else, they're doing it for you.
Mm, yeah.
So it is, but it's a learned practice skill. It doesn't happen naturally. Unless you, well, it doesn't happen naturally. Even for me, ended up having to hire a coach when I was in financial services to teach me how to network correctly. So it is so important that we are intentional with our networking in that we help other people to win. And again, I tell people all the time too, our networking is not for you to make a sale. It's not for you to make a sale. Your networking is for you to build a relationship so that someone sees value in what you do and they'll want to open the door for you. And so
Mm,
networking is not to sell to people, but to sell through people.
mm, yeah. That's good. I was going to say screenshot that, write it down.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So, how did we get here,
that's good.
Monica? We got here because of Whitney, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, I met you on the Wallet to Wealth, and then I'm like, oh my God, this woman is on fire. I got to talk to her.
So, have you heard
Yeah,
the story how I met Whitney?
I have, but I'd love for you to tell it.
Yeah. So, I'm
Yeah,
here in Texas and Whitney's up there in Toronto. Okay. So, how does
yeah.
that happen, right? So, I am a networker. And what that means is whenever I travel, I'm intentional about connecting with people in the city where I am. And so I knew I was coming to Toronto to speak for a women's event.
Yeah.
And um, I didn't have any connections there. So I started just keeping my eyes and ears open on social media for people that might be in that area. So I'm in a Facebook group, and Whitney posts a picture of herself on the side of a bus. So I look at them. Now, this is where you eyes open. So I look at the city, and it
Yeah.
said Burlington, Ontario. Okay. So I go to Google Maps, and I knew I was going to Oakville. So I put in Oakville, Ontario to Burlington, Ontario, and find out they're like this. All
Okay.
right. So this might be somebody I need to meet. Picture on the side of the bus. A couple of days later, she posts a picture of her flying in her airplane. Okay, I need to know who this lady is for real though. So I go over to Messenger and I said, I saw your picture on the side of a bus. I see you're flying your airplane. I'm coming to your neck of the woods for a women's event. I would love to hop on a Zoom call and learn more about who you are and what you do. She responded, oh my gosh, I'd love to connect with you. What the heck is Zoom? This was in 2018. She had never
Wow.
heard of Zoom, or 2017.
Yeah.
So I said, don't worry about it. I got the link, zoomwithtoni.com. Let's go. We hopped on a Zoom call. We spoke for an hour and a half. It was a first date. It was just like that. You know, when you
God.
meet a guy and it's your first
Yeah.
date, and we just talked blah, 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 blah. And I introduced her to the lady who was having the women's event because of this was her first year doing her benefit event for Halton's Women's Shelter. I'm like, she got a table. She had never done a table. We had a table across from each other. We are bonding. And when
Oh, I love it.
I'm there, and she takes me up in her airplane. My husband said, are you really going in the airplane with the lady you met on Facebook? Didn't you know I was drastic, sir? Absolutely. And we've been like this ever since. And now I'm coming to Toronto again to speak for her April 20th. So I'm
I
so
will be there. I'm so excited, and I'm so happy this date worked for you because I had Whitney on the show last week, so it was perfect, that this
excited.
story. Yeah. Oh, that
But
is
it's all
wonderful.
about keeping your eyes and ears open.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been the MC 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row for her event.
Mhm.
This year, she said, "You." I said, "Aren't y'all tired of me?" She said, "No."
No,
Everybody's like, "Well,
we
you."
can't wait.
So I'll be in person in November. I'm excited.
Bravo. I'm excited too. It's the best news that you're coming here. So good. So, you brought up a good point. You have eyes and ears open to opportunities. And as a businesswoman, I want to talk about the grind versus the sitting with yourself, getting centered, and opening yourself up to receiving new opportunities because I feel like that's a challenge. It's that old expression, are you working in your business or on your business? And so many of us are working in our business day to day. As much as we'd like to be up here looking down, it's not always the case, right?
Right.
So do you sort of advise your clients on that, Tony, on yeah.
Most of my clients are solopreneurs. They are wearing every hat in their business, myself included.
Mhm.
I'm grateful that I've now got support, but for a long time, it was just me having to balance in your business and on your business. Here's what I knew for sure: if I didn't work on my business, there'd be no in my business.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
just have to schedule it and honor your schedule. Schedule events, schedule one-to-ones, and then work around delivering to your clients. But you have to build in the time for your marketing, whether it's networking events, conferences. I'm very intentional. I attend at least 3 national conferences a year because I know I want to expand my network internationally. And so I just pull the time out, and then the work falls around that. So I've been in that same boat. I'm probably going to always be in that boat on some level, even though on my NIA side, I have now chapter leaders who are growing groups, and they're expanding the network, and I'm
Mhm.
scaling my business, and I'm so grateful for them.
God.
But um, one day I won't be a solopreneur, but it really is important that you have to build in the time. You won't have a business if you don't work on your business.
Yeah, so true. And in those masterminds with NIA, like, what have you found are sort of the like twofold? Like, what are things that hold people back from becoming, their what they're always meant to be, and what are sort of things that you've seen where that's why this person is a success? Like,
Yeah. The difference is being drastic or not. What do I
mm,
mean by that? People who are reserved and they don't want to get uncomfortable, they're not being drastic. They make it about themselves. I tell my clients all
mm,
the time, your business ain't for you. Your business is not for you. Your business is for the people that you are meant to serve. And if you're in your head, staying in your comfort zone, not showing up, not following up, my saying is show up, be up, follow up to blow up. You've made it about you. Oh, I don't want to follow up. It's too late. I may be bugging somebody. It's not about you. If you think you got something that will change somebody's life, change somebody's business, give them better relationships, give them better health, give them more money, why are you making it about you? The people who are successful in my network show up regardless. And they show up like life is perfect. And we all know nobody's life is perfect, but they show up in a way that they are still intentional about helping other people. They are showing up despite of life. They don't make excuses. They balance their life. And that's the difference. And so it is a conversation of drastic mindset versus not.
wow, you're awesome. Okay, so what when I hear that, like, I love this. This is so great. It's such a big, big lesson in life. And what is it, Tony? Like, were you born this way, or was it like something, was it your mom that made you see it? Like, what made,
Well,
because
yeah,
mindset is the hardest thing to master. I'm telling you, like, I can be the most positive Patty and I will go home and do the poor me crap. And I try to give myself 15 minutes max for a pity party. A friend of mine told me that once, only give yourself 15 minutes.
that's right.
And that, because, you got to indulge it sometimes. But, living by this, it's the dream. It is
Yeah, my
what
mother
you're,
doesn't accept excuses, and she doesn't accept pity parties. And she's
yeah.
like, listen, move on. And sometimes I'm mad at her for that, because sometimes I want to wallow in how I feel. But like your
Mm,
friend, I give myself a few minutes. And then if you can't change the situation, work on what you can change. And
mm,
most of the time, it's just you and your reaction to what is going on. Everything
yeah.
else is somebody else. You can't change it. And yeah, my mom was the one who instilled that in me. Sometimes, like I said, I'm mad at her for that. I'm like, sometimes I wish I could holler, scream, and cry and feel sorry for myself and curl up in a ball. What is that going
Mm,
to change? She says. How is that going to change anything? And let me tell
yeah.
you this, NIA came into my life at a time when I was this close to getting a job. Like I had interviewed and waiting for offer letters. And I was talking to someone in my network who's a mindset coach. And she said, Toni, what's your why? And I told her, and she said, you've already accomplished that. You need a new why. She said, I want you to go create a new why, come back and tell me what it is. Perhaps that will inspire you to want to stay in business. So I did that. Came back to her. I said, my why is to touch, move, and inspire my clients to take drastic steps to be better than they were before they met me. I'm a resource, I'm a connector. I want to help people build deeper relationships that are beneficial to their life and business. She said, Toni, what would you need to do to get paid to connect people? I said, I need to start my own networking group. She said, why don't you? I said, absolutely not. She said, what do you mean? I said, I don't have time to start something from scratch. I've seen too many people run networking groups and not make any money. I don't know what to charge. I don't have technology. No, thank you. She said, Toni, don't worry about the how. It will show up. Girl, please. Clicked off of Zoom. I am not starting a networking. Now, remember, I had already interviewed for jobs and I was waiting for the offer letter, two of them.
Well, okay, can you tell us how old you were at this time?
This was 2019.
Yeah, yes, I think that's
3 years
so
ago.
incredible.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had just stopped driving Uber. I had, like, 6 months prior to that conversation, I was working at a community college doing administrative work because I was so confused. I didn't know what to do. But I didn't sit in that. I mean, did I feel bad? Yes. But I kept showing up. I used my network to help me. And because I spoke it into existence, a lady I had met 3 months prior at a women's retreat, I showed up to that women's retreat. It's 5 hours from Houston because my mother wanted to see my brother who lived in the area. And I just went not knowing why I was going. There was only 12 women there. And I met Helen from Network in Action, who changed my life. Helen followed up with me. It took her 3 months to follow up with me. And she said, in my head, I was thinking, it's too late. It's too late. She's not going to remember me. And you know, when I answered the phone, she said, Toni, this is Helen with Network in Action. I hope you remember me. I had
Oh,
forgotten about her. I had forgotten about her because I had just told my coach, no way I could do a networking group.
yeah.
So it's never too late to follow up. But
Yes.
to your point, there are times when I felt down, I was about to give up, and I kept showing up. And when I showed up, I met a one person. It takes one person to change the trajectory of your life. But it's not going to happen if you're sitting at home feeling sorry for yourself. It's
Hmm.
only going to happen when you keep showing up, even when you don't know why, even if it takes effort, it takes money, and it takes time, because you might meet Toni Harris Taylor who could change your life.
Yeah. God, that's so true. Amazing. My goodness. So I love, because I told you I'm addicted to your YouTube channel. I had heard a little bit about that story and I knew that that was in 2019 and I felt that that was important because that's not that long ago. And you're showing right here like you basically turned your whole life around and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can do it at any time, any age,
In any
try
stage,
anything.
in any
Mhm.
stage, I promise. And what's so interesting about this, Monica, because I know that Jehovah had something to do with it, because the
Mm.
two jobs I was waiting on the offer for, poof, disappeared. Literally,
Wow.
poof. One of them, the lady who was hiring me and the management, they're no longer with the company anymore because they reorganized. And the other one, I said something so stupid in the interview, I disqualified myself. Now, that was not even my style. The lady who interviewed me is a friend of mine. And she was like, why did you say that? I was like, I don't know. But I think that God knew, and that's why He
Yeah.
let me say something dumb so that network and action could come into my life. And now I'm living the dream. Is it perfect? No. Is it easy? No. But it's my
Mhm.
purpose to teach entrepreneurs how to network. Because if I teach somebody how to network, they'll teach somebody else, they'll teach their children, and my legacy of being drastic and networking will live on forever.
Yeah, amazing. And I love what you said about those two other opportunities just going poof, because it's true. I read this beautiful poem on the weekend, and it was about how it was basically about not having regrets in life, and how everything that has happened to you, the purpose is so much higher than you. Everybody who's shown up, everybody who's said something, every situation that's come about, there is nothing that was done in error, so to
That's
speak.
right. That's
It's all,
exactly right. I believe that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a good way to live. So you're going to be coming to the Wallet to Wealth next dinner meet. So the date on that again, it's April the
April
20th, right?
20th, and I'll be
Right.
talking about viral marketing strategies to grow your business. And I'm going on tour. So this is my first tour stop, if you will. So I have a conference every year called the Viral Networking Conference in Houston. It's already scheduled for October 4th through 6th. And I'm inviting my network. Your plane will bring you here. So don't give me none of that excuses. Your plane, you got plenty of time. You can buy the ticket. Your plane will bring you to Houston. But if you want to expand your network nationally and internationally, you got to show up where national and international audiences are. So I'm taking this viral networking message on tour, and Toronto's my first stop. And you can go to the viralnetworkingconference.com to see all my other stops and just show up in Houston, because that's the idea, for people to sign up to be at the conference in Houston.
Oh, fantastic. And Tony, you also host your own show online that people can tune into. And is that on YouTube or?
It is. It's a
Yeah.
StreamYard, like we are here today. So it
Okay.
is YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. It's called the
Okay.
Drastic Results with Toni Harris Taylor Show, and I interview entrepreneurs to share their stories of what drastic steps they've taken to be successful and how
Mhm.
networking has helped them to grow their business. So you're going to be a guest
Great.
soon as well. We have
Woo!
to return the favor. And so I'm excited about
Uh, I'd be honored. That would be amazing. Thank you so much, Tony. Is there anything else you want folks to know about that's coming up for you?
Yeah. So the viral networking conference is my main focus, but I'm also a speaker. So if you need a keynote speaker, a breakout speaker, virtually or in person, my plane takes me everywhere I tell it. No, I'm not Whitney. I don't have a private plane, but I'm open to being a speaker and sharing this message of relationships, connections, collaborations, and more clients. And get on my calendar, meet with ToniHarrisTaylor.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tony. I'm so happy that you're able to join us. And I'm going to put you in the virtual green room. I'll be right back there with you. But thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate this today.
Thank you for the opportunity. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to the fabulous Toni Harris Taylor. She is amazing. And I hope you look her up and follow her and check out all the great things she's doing. Before I say goodbye, please be sure to check out our sponsors, brendabadome.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 22% off of your order, and check out glamjewels.com and grab yourself some matching accessories. Thanks so much for being here, and we cannot wait to see you next week with another fabulous guest. Take care.